Hey everybody, and welcome back. Today I'm going to give you a quick rundown of how to Plasti Dip the Civic logo and Honda logo on the back of a 2011 Honda Civic. Before we get started, a couple warning labels to go over with you. So firstly, when you're using Plasti Dip, this is a highly toxic spray, so I would really recommend not using this in a closed-in space, and make sure you're using the proper breathing equipment recommended by the brand. So just make sure you do your research on how to use this before you get started. Secondly, Goo Gone is not required, but highly recommended. For this, I would highly recommend testing it on any portion of the vehicle before you get started, just to be safe. It should be safe for pretty much all automotive paint, but just in case, you don't want to damage a large, highly visible portion of the vehicle. So just look up the recommendations there as well. And then you will need some kind of tape. I would advise using Scotch tape or painter's tape. Duct tape or electrical tape are going to leave a lot of residue behind. And then obviously we will need a trash bag or two just to cover up the area. I don't want to keep you waiting any longer, so we're going to go ahead and head outside and get started on this Civic. But as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. All right, welcome back everyone. So I've already gone through the process just like with my previous video. I'll put a link in the description as to what it looks like to actually go through Plasti Dipping the vehicle. It is not terribly difficult, but the fumes and the lack of a stand to kind of work with outside is going to make it very difficult to actually do the painting process. So just to give you a quick overview of what I did, I went ahead and taped a trash bag, which I ripped up all the way around the area. I think a lot of people just use a ton of tape. This is just 10 times easier. Then use some scissors to cut out where the logo is. Now, I'm not saying cut letter by letter and make it look perfect. What I did was I cut out a generic rectangle and then I just taped closer to the letters. And I tore up some smaller pieces of Scotch tape to fit in between, just to make it a little easier to remove. And then I did the same with the Honda logo up here. However, just like with the CX-5, I wanted to keep the paint right here, just to black out everything, so not just the H itself. So what you're looking at as far as the process, you're gonna take your Plasti Dip, run it under warm water for about 60 seconds, shake it up, spray it off to the side just to make sure it comes out smoothly. Hold it 6 to 8 inches away. You're gonna go in a zigzag motion, and then you're going to go zigzag again. So you're doing one across horizontally, one vertically. If you're doing it slow enough, it should have a sandpaper finish to it. Very simple process. Don't try to black out the whole emblem starting right off the back. That's not how the spray painting process works. We're looking at least 4 to 6 coats. And then same with the logo down here as well. Now let's go ahead and peel this off and see what it looks like. And as I advised in the last video, I would highly recommend making sure that you aren't peeling off too aggressively. If you try to peel very quickly, you run the risk of ripping the Plasti Dip off of the logo or emblem that you're working with, which is going to mean that you're either going to have to do some touch-up, which is incredibly difficult, or you're going to end up having to use the Goo Gone, rip it off, and do it all over. Now, here we are at the logo itself. Again, I've taped all the way around the edges. So where you have to do this very carefully, and we are essentially pulling, you're going to be pulling out, not up. If you pull up, you risk damaging the Plasti Dip on the logo itself. So here we are pulling out, and you should see Plasti Dip separates pretty smoothly as long as you do this slowly. And this has been out here drying for about 12 hours as of now, just so you know what we're looking at as far as the time drying. And I cannot stress enough how important it is to go slowly. As you can see, the Plasti Dip will actually stretch before it tears. And that is where a lot of people are going to run into issues, is as it is stretching, they make the mistake of trying to go a little too fast. And that would be the point where it actually starts to rip. All right. And as you can see, we have a little bit of residue and some extra tape to pull off up here, but that's what the logo is going to look like. You can see the finish. So it came out pretty good overall. That's about 6 coats and about 2 hours of drying, or 12 hours of drying, 2 hours total for the job itself. But the Civic sign is going to be a little trickier, so I'll just show you the finished product, because when you peel this off, the sign is so close to being flush with the paint that it is very, very easy for this to peel off of the letters itself. But again, as you can see, that's what we're looking at for the Honda logo. And the little stray pieces of Plasti Dip, you can get a toothpick or some kind of very, very easy to use, not very, very hard. Like, you don't want to use something too hard, like anything metal, for a project like this and risk scratching the car paint itself. But this way you don't have to pop the logo off. Again, very, very simple way to run through the Plasti Dip. Don't forget to check out the link in the description. I have a little bit more of an in-detail or in-depth video doing this on a Mazda CX-5, but this pretty much translates to any other vehicle. Again, just make sure you're following any warnings or guidelines for the vehicle itself. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and come back and check out the channel for new content.